The rain starts at exactly 11:47 p.m. It always does. Marcus Holbrook checks his rearview mirror for the third time in 10 seconds. The headlights behind him maintain their distance, close enough to see, far enough to deny. Just like every night for the past, how long has it been now? Time moves differently when you're trapped between what happened and what you wish had happened. The radio crackles. Same song, same static-filled chorus cutting through the drumming on his windshield. Don't stop believing. But Marcus stopped believing in a lot of things. Stopped believing in coincidences, in accidents, in the luxury of ignorance. He just hasn't stopped believing in lies. Not yet. The street stretches ahead like a wet black tongue. Streetlights flicker in sequence, casting everything in that sickly amber glow that makes the rain look like falling copper coins. Marcus accelerates. 60 in a 45 zone, but who's counting? The speedometer needle trembles at 62, 65. The faster he drives, the faster he can get home. The faster he can pretend this night never happened. The figure appears in his peripheral vision first. Always does. A child, maybe 8, maybe 10 years old. Red jacket bright as a stop sign against the gray November evening. The kid steps off the curb at Miller and 3rd, right where the crosswalk paint has faded to barely visible lines. Marcus sees him. Of course he sees him. The boy looks directly at the car, makes eye contact through the windshield, raises one small hand, not waving, not gesturing for help, just acknowledging, like he knows what's coming. Time slows. The rain becomes individual drops, each one catching the light like suspended glass. The boy's mouth moves, saying something Marcus can't hear over the engine, over the radio, over the thundering of his own heartbeat. 3 seconds. That's all it takes. Marcus's foot hovers over the brake pedal. The car weighs 3,000 pounds. The boy weighs maybe 70. Physics is simple. Choice is complicated. The boy never breaks eye contact, never tries to run, just stands there in his red jacket, waiting for Marcus to decide who lives and who dies. Marcus chooses himself. The impact sounds like a wet bag of groceries hitting concrete. The windshield spiderwebs but doesn't shatter. The boy's body rolls up over the hood, over the roof, and disappears into the darkness behind him. Marcus doesn't stop, doesn't even slow down. The radio continues playing. The rain continues falling. The speedometer needle continues trembling at 65. And in the rearview mirror, those same headlights maintain their distance.
But the story doesn't end there. Stories like this never do. Because at exactly 11:47 p.m., the rain starts again. The radio crackles back to life. The speedometer reads 55, climbing. And Marcus Holbrook checks his rearview mirror for the 3rd time in 10 seconds. He doesn't remember the impact, doesn't remember the boy in the red jacket, doesn't remember the choice, not consciously, but somewhere deep in his chest, a weight has settled. Somewhere behind his eyes, a shadow has taken root, the kind of shadow that asks questions he doesn't want to answer, the kind that whispers, "What if you had stopped?" The second night, Marcus tries to blame the rain. Visibility was terrible, he tells himself, hands gripping the steering wheel like it might anchor him to some version of reality where he's not a killer. Anyone would have had trouble seeing. The boy appears again. Red jacket, small hand raised. Same crosswalk, same timing. This time, Marcus tells himself he genuinely can't see clearly. The rain is heavier tonight, or maybe it just seems heavier. The windshield wipers struggle against the downpour, leaving streaks across his vision. But the boy is still there, still visible, still making eye contact. Marcus squints, leans forward, makes a show of trying to see through the storm, as if performing better visibility might change what happened. As if God or the universe or whatever force controls these things might accept his theatrical confusion as genuine. The boy's mouth moves again. This time, Marcus swears he can almost make out the words, "I know you can see me." 3 seconds, hovering foot, simple physics. The impact sounds exactly the same.
On the third night, it's the brakes. Marcus tests them 3 blocks before Miller and Third, pumps the pedal, feels the reassuring pressure, the solid response of steel and hydraulics working exactly as designed. But when the boy appears, red jacket, raised hand, steady gaze, Marcus tells himself the brakes have failed. He presses down. The car slows, but not enough, not fast enough. His foot goes all the way to the floor, and still the car continues forward at exactly the right speed, at exactly the right angle. "Brake failure," he gasps, even though he can feel the brakes working perfectly, even though the car responds to every input exactly as it should. The boy doesn't move, doesn't try to dodge or run. Just watches Marcus lie to himself in real time. The impact. The spider-webbed windshield. The weight in his chest growing heavier. The fourth night brings the phone call. It starts ringing at 11:45, 2 minutes before the rain, 2 minutes before the boy. Marcus glances at the screen. His ex-wife's number. Sarah? He answers without thinking. Static. Breathing. Then her voice, distant and wrong. "Why didn't you stop?" The line goes dead. The rain begins. The boy appears. This time, Marcus is looking at his phone when it happens, trying to call Sarah back, trying to understand how she knew, trying to make sense of a conversation that feels like it happened in someone else's dream. The boy raises his hand. Marcus sees him in his peripheral vision, but doesn't look directly, doesn't make eye contact. If he doesn't see, it's not really his fault. The impact still sounds like a wet bag of groceries, a flat tire that isn't flat, a wasp in the car that doesn't exist, a heart palpitation that feels real but changes nothing, a deer in the road that's never there, a text message from his boss marked urgent that disappears when he tries to read it. Each night, Marcus finds a new excuse. Each night, the boy appears in his red jacket. Each night, the same choice, dressed up in different lies. The weight in his chest grows heavier. The shadow behind his eyes grows darker. And in the rearview mirror, those headlights never waver. Never get closer, never fall behind. Just watching, waiting. It takes 847 loops before Marcus starts to remember. Not everything, not all at once, but fragments, echoes, the sound of impact, the weight of choice, the boy's face in the instant before physics takes over. Tonight, he pulls over 3 blocks before Miller and Third, sits in his idling car, hands shaking on the steering wheel. "This is insane," he whispers to his reflection in the rearview mirror. "This can't be real." But the rain starts anyway. 11:47 p.m., exactly on schedule. Marcus gets out of the car, walks the 3 blocks in the downpour, shoes splashing through puddles that reflect the amber street lights like scattered coins. The boy is already there, standing in the crosswalk, red jacket bright against the gray, waiting. "You're not real," Marcus calls out. "You can't be real." The boy tilts his head. For the first time in 847 loops, he speaks loud enough for Marcus to hear. Does that make it better? Marcus stands there in the rain, water running down his face like tears he's never let himself cry. I didn't mean for it to happen. Yes, you did. It was an accident. No, it wasn't. I couldn't stop in time. You could have tried. The truth hits harder than any impact. Marcus doubles over in the street, gasping. Because the boy is right, he could have tried. He could have slammed the brakes, yanked the wheel, accepted the consequences. Instead, he chose the easier path, the one that kept his insurance rates low and his conscience buried. By the 1200th loop, Marcus has tried everything. He's tried taking different routes, but somehow always ends up on Miller and 3rd. He's tried staying home, but finds himself driving without remembering how he got behind the wheel. He's tried destroying his car, but it's always pristine again when the rain starts. Tonight, he doesn't even pretend to drive, just stands there in the crosswalk with the boy, both of them getting soaked. What do you want from me? He screams into the storm. The boy doesn't answer immediately, just studies Marcus with eyes too old for his small face. I want you to tell the truth. What truth? That I killed you? Fine, I killed you. I saw you standing there, and I didn't stop, because I was drunk and scared and selfish, and I didn't want to go to prison. The rain continues falling. The boy continues staring. That's not the truth. Yes, it is. I was drunk. I was going 65 in a 45. I saw you, and I chose not to stop. You weren't drunk. The words hit like ice water. Marcus staggers backward. Yes, I was. I had been drinking. 3 beers at Murphy's. Maybe 4. You weren't drunk, the boy repeats. You had 1 beer, 2 hours earlier. You were stone sober. No, that's not... You weren't distracted. Your brakes worked fine. There was no deer, no wasp, no emergency. You saw me clearly. You had plenty of time to stop. Marcus shakes his head violently. You're wrong. You killed me because stopping would have made you 5 minutes late for a date you didn't even want to go on. The truth lands like a physical blow. Marcus falls to his knees in the wet asphalt. Because the boy is right. He could have tried. Jessica Walters, Tinder date. 3rd one that week. He was already running late, already annoyed at having to drive across town for someone he'd probably never see again. When he saw the boy, the calculation was instant and cold. Stop, deal with police, miss the date, waste the whole evening. Or, don't stop. Pretend it never happened. Be home by midnight. He chose convenience over a child's life, not in a moment of panic or impaired judgment or mechanical failure, in a moment of pure, rational selfishness. I've been watching him for 3,000 loops. That's what I do. I ferry souls across the space between what they did and what they must accept, between the lie they tell themselves and the truth they can't escape. Marcus Holbrook doesn't know I'm here, doesn't see the boat waiting in the shadows between streetlights,
doesn't hear the water lapping against the pier that exists only when someone's ready to cross. But he's close now, closer than he's ever been. The boy, Timothy Chen, 8 years old, loved dinosaurs and chocolate chip cookies, stands patient in his red jacket. He's been waiting 3 years, real time, not loop time. 3 years for his killer to find enough courage to face what he did. "I killed him," Marcus whispers, finally. "I killed him because I didn't want to be inconvenienced." The rain stops. For the first time in 3,000 loops, the rain stops. Timothy looks up at the clearing sky, then back at Marcus. Truth is the only currency that buys your passage. And that's when Marcus sees me, standing by the pier that wasn't there a moment ago, holding a lantern that burns with light the color of honesty. My boat rocks gently in waters that reflect not the streetlights above, but the weight of the choice below. Who are you?" Marcus asks. I set the lantern down, pull the oar from the bottom of the boat. It's heavy, heavier than wood and metal should be, heavy with the weight of all the souls who've crossed, all the truths that had to be acknowledged before the crossing could begin. "I'm the one who ferries you across," I say, "from what you were to what you must become, from the lie to the truth, from the loop to whatever comes next." Marcus looks at Timothy, then at me, then at the dark water lapping against the pier. What comes next? I don't know. That's not my job. My job is the crossing. My job is making sure the fare is paid in full. It depends, I say, on whether you're ready to stop running. Marcus takes a step toward the boat, then another. The weight in his chest isn't gone. It never goes away completely. But it's different now. Acknowledged. Owned. Timothy walks beside him, red jacket no longer bright against the gray, but just a jacket worn by a boy who deserved to live. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispers. "I know," Timothy says, and for the first time in 3,000 loops, he smiles. The boat rocks as they step aboard. The lantern flickers, then burns steady and bright. I push off from the pier with the oar. It rings once, a clear, true sound that cuts through the silence like honesty through deception.
"The crossing takes as long as it takes. Some souls fight the current, try to swim back to the comfortable lies they left behind. Others sit quiet, finally at peace with the weight they've carried. Marcus Holbrook sits quiet. When we reach the far shore, wherever that is, whatever that means, he steps out of the boat without looking back. Timothy walks beside him into whatever light waits beyond my jurisdiction. I return alone, as always. Push the boat back into the shadows between streetlights, hang the lantern on its hook, and wait. Because there's always another passenger, always another soul trapped between what they did and what they won't admit. Always another truth that needs to be paid before the crossing can begin. The oar rings once again, and in the distance I hear the sound of rain beginning to fall. 11:47 p.m., right on schedule. Truth is the only currency that buys your passage, but some souls spend lifetimes trying to afford the fare.